some demographics come to the table and have to overcome racism, unconscious bias, misogyny. And so how do we help level the playing field for everyone?
Okay, so that means you're trying to create equality of outcome. Mm-hmm. That's what I hear you saying about playing God. Yeah. How do you create equality of outcome when people aren't the same? You're right. Some people are shorter, some people are taller looking over that fence. They can't both play in the NBA.
Right.
You can't create equality of outcome. What gives a DEI program the right to come in and try and alter the nature of things to create equality of outcome? That's been tried. That didn't work. That was called Marxism.
What's going on, everyone? Talk Security here today. We're going to be talking about DEI yet again. Because Dr. Phil, I don't know what's going on with Dr. Phil. Ever since he got away from Oprah, he's like, I could be my real self now. Like, it's craziness. How in that about 45-second clip that you saw in the beginning of the intro, how the worldview just crumbles. How can you guarantee equality of outcome? Aren't you making false promises? DEI, there's no evidence to support that DEI makes an organization better. There's many cases that they show that DEI makes an organization worse because of the fact that you putting people in positions where on their merits, they're not really qualified to be in. And the idea that you can just magically put people in these positions. Let's put more blacks in Ivy League colleges, as if Ivy League colleges actually make people smarter. It doesn't. All it is a piece of paper. All it is a credential saying that, hey, we bequeath upon you credibility. That's all a degree really represents in our society. It's more of a status symbol than actually a marker of expertise. Because you see what the colleges are pumping out now. You're like, yo, it's better if you don't go to college. Some people can make the argument that college was never meant to make you smart, or doesn't improve your intelligence, or doesn't open your worldview in the first place. It conditions you. It trains you in a specific political viewpoint. Look at the schools. 12-to-1 ratio. For every one conservative teacher, there's 12 liberal professors. How do we know this is not an ideological church that you want us to send our kids to so they can get conditioned into a left-wing worldview? This is why Ivy League, college-educated people tend to vote Democrat. How do I know this? Like, it's so baffling to me, and this is why corporate America is becoming woke, because they're using these DEI initiatives as a barometer to further insulate a liberal bias in these corporate institutions, because that's a very Marxist way of doing things. And this is what Dr. Phil, if you want to take the most important thing out of the clip, was the fact that Dr. Phil exposed DEI as nothing more than Marxism with a different flavor. Because all Marxism is about, hey, we want the minority group to take over the institution. We want our people to take over institutions. And once we take over an institution, now it's good. This is the whole DEI hustle. Oh, you want your corporation to be considered good, to have good public sentiment, to be standing up for social justice. And this is how the progressives get the liberals to budge on these things, because they show the liberal, oh, you discriminated against people because of their race. Oh, meritocracy discriminates against black people. Black people fail tests. Black people do this. Let's remove the standards for them. Let's remove standards so we can put in more DEI people based on subjective standards, based on I want you in power or not. How is DEI any different from nepotism? I don't know how to say it, but you guys know what I mean. How is it any different from hiring your buddy and putting him in on a board of director because he's your buddy? I put you on the board of director because you're a white woman. I put you on the board of director because you're a black woman. DEI is literally a made up imaginary job created for liberals, black elites. Because at the end of the day, my biggest argument against DEI is that it doesn't even help poor minorities. It benefits well-off minorities. Here's a clip from Joy Reid, kind of saying the quiet part out loud about DEI and what it's really about. It's really about a cultural war to use these institutions not as, oh, look, my black friend graduated from Harvard. I'll make the argument that DEI actually hurts the credibility of a lot of these colleges now, and the status of these colleges as if as good institutions, because they're like, yo, this guy graduated from Harvard, but he's making so much legal mistakes. He's trying to get Trump on a fringe legal theory about hush money that he can't possibly prove, that the federal government themselves did not want to prosecute Trump over, but for some reason him at a district state level wants to prosecute a president when the federal government said, hey, there's no case, we're not going to pursue it? It's like DEI hurts the very case that it tries to make, that, oh, there's qualified black people out there and we need to hone in on their race to put them in positions of authority, when you started off with a racist assumption that, oh, this black person is qualified because he's just black. We need more black people. We need more racial quotas, but they pretend they don't have racial quotas. They want to have DEI targets. Hey, we want 13% of the population represented in this field. And in certain fields like physics, there's not enough black applicants. Even if if one organization hired all the black applicants available to that field, it only equates to 5%. 5% of blacks, depending on what field you're going into. So that means the DEI quota, making a representative workforce, is not possible for some fields, but yet they still want to push it anyway. Why? Because of this equal outcomes BS. But I digress. Let's see Joy Reid's clip here, and then I want to further espouse upon what DEI, the reality of DEI is. It just really means anti-white, but I digress. Let's look at the clip.
There is something wonderfully poetic about the fact that despite the fact that even if convicted, he's not going to go to prison, the first person to actually criminally prosecute Donald Trump is a black Harvard grad, the very kind of person that his former staff, the people who worked for him, Stephen Miller, et cetera, want to never be at Harvard Law School. But he was. And he came out and graduated, and he's prosecuting you, Donald. And a black woman is doing that same exact thing in Georgia. And a black woman forced you to pay a $175 million fine that's out now also in question, because the people who put it up, that might not be legit. Donald Trump is being held to account by the very multicultural, multiracial democracy that he's trying to dismantle. And for me, there's something poetic and actually wonderful about that. It says something good about our country that we're still capable of having that happen. Go DEI. My DEIs are bringing it home on today.
I love that clip. That clip just shows, like, is it a legitimate claim? Like, she's basing all this stuff, and I don't know why everything's going haywire. Everything's making noise around me today. She makes a clip where she's saying that, oh, I'm happy that a black woman is going after Trump, that a black man is going to be the first person to prosecute Trump. And I'm sitting there like, yo, how is this not racism? Imagine if the races were reversed. Let's play inverse theory, because if you want to test the validity of the idea, if you want to know if an idea makes sense, make the argument for the opposite. I'm glad a white man is going to be the first one to prosecute a black president. The same black president that said that whiteness is the devil. The same black president that said that white people are a threat to black people's lives. Isn't it poetic that a white woman is going to prosecute this black president? Imagine if there was an argument like that. People will say, oh, it's racism. Even if the black person has some legitimate claims against the white people, or white people have a legitimate claim to be mad about a black president saying that whiteness is a problem. Whiteness is a danger to minorities around the world. But the best place to be black is a majority white country called America. But, oh, systematic racism. This is the idiocy of the DEI project. This is why every data stats show minimum to no improvement to DEI. Now, people openly admit this now.
There are 100 studies that suggest that it doesn't work.
There are also studies show that it does work. If you look at the Harvard
But
Business
those are
Review,
done.
Deloitte.
Well, let's look at the Harvard Business Review, because they actually did a study. The study found that over 5 years, 800 plus businesses consistently lost diversity in their managers, that no improvement in the proportions of white women, blacks, Hispanics, and Asians, and the participants feel external power trying to control their behavior.
So I can only lean on my experience. So I've worked for 13.
It's more about protecting their hustle, their project, their power. Because without DEI, a lot of women won't have any of these lucrative jobs in corporate America, right? Without the DEI office, these executives won't meet their quota, their self-imposed quota of, oh, we want more women in the executive team. They create the chief diversity officer as part of the executive team. HR was seen similar for a way for executives and corporations to have more women in its workforce. These are the hustle. This is the hustle they're really trying to protect. When they try to protect DEI, affirmative action, this is what they're really trying to protect. They're specially made jobs that's usually filled by white women and black women and blacks sometimes. HR is overwhelmingly overrepresented with women. That's how they get their quota. They say, look, a percentage of our workforce are women now. This is how they do it in administrative work, right? Because they're trying to predict outcomes, right? Here's a quote that I found just beautiful from F.A. Hayek. There is all the difference in the world between treating people equally and attempting to make them equal. When women talk about the pay gap, or you just heard about the WNBA, the most attention the WNBA ever had in its life. People are talking about the wage gap. Feminists want to bring up the wage gap. Oh my God, these women only making $76,000 a year, while men in the same category, rookies in the NBA, make $10 million a year. How is this not fair? Are they doing equal work? Do they have equal ability? No. I'll argue that, if you so, like, here's how I would make my case. If I was a woman and I believe I was being underpaid and I have the same abilities and same capabilities as men, I would challenge the rookie men. Hey, rookie on rookie, all women's team versus all men's team, rookie. And if I'm able to beat them and say, hey, we're competing at a equal level, but you're paying this team more, and we beat them, or we can compete with them. Why not have that case study? If you have a theory in reality and you do not, and you're in reality show you your theory is wrong, you must accept that your theory is wrong. If I can justify that an all males team in the NBA rookie class is better than an all females team in the WNBA rookie class, wouldn't that justify the men making more money than the women? Yes, it would, because I say, hey, they just happen to be better players on merit, on objective merit. The men players happen to be better, faster, stronger players, and they're more entertaining to watch, and they generate more money, while the WNBA has yet to turn a profit. The WNBA, the only reason it's still going on right now is because the NBA is subsidizing the WNBA. When the NBA didn't have that. The NBA had to make it on its own merits. And now the WNBA is standing on the shoulders of giants and pretending that it should get paid the same as the giant when it didn't even do the same work as the giant. Make it make sense. Right? Harvard names DEI advocate to key position in presidential search. DEI is literally an excuse. It's a barometer. It's a bureaucratic way of filtering out candidates that are more likely to be in their ideological camp. This is Marxism. If you ask a Marxist based on class, hey, I want to hire more poor people. I want the working class to have control over production because what? They believe that they can get their way through the working class. DEI is the same mechanism. It operates in the same way. But I digress. Let's get into this clip with Dr. Phil. And I kind of want to give some of my reactions, and then we'll wrap up this video at the end of it. Let's take a look.
Thank you.
When you say diversity, what do you mean?
For me personally, and I think for the industry and in corporate, we are looking at it broadly. We're looking at diversity as bringing in different backgrounds, whether that is industry experience, race, gender, sexual orientation.
Well, now, wait a minute.
Yeah, so I have to make this like this because I don't want to get copyrighted, so I have to like jump in between. I can't just give a full-on clip or else I'm going to get copyrighted. But I like how she tried to condition it with, industry experience. Well, it doesn't matter about industry experience because if you look at, like I make the claim earlier in this video, that DEI is already pulling from a very select few like qualified candidates, like actually qualified black people. If DEI didn't exist, the numbers would have been the same. Now DEI is trying to circumvent that, either create these useless jobs that have no tie-in to the bottom line of the corporation. And then the minute the corporation gets to hard times, they eliminate damn near all of these people out of the corporate office. This is why I said during layoffs, the affirmative action hires, minorities, women, they're most effective during layoffs because a lot of their jobs, in my view, are fluff jobs.
You're doing diversity training. You're not talking about industry experience. You're talking about racial diversity. You're talking about gender.
We're talking about all of the above. I think good diversity programs are really about broadening perspectives within an organization. And I've certainly worked for organizations where we only want people from a specific background. And that can be very limiting and impact what your organization looks like in terms of race and gender.
Okay, well, you just said what it looks like. And that's what one of the big criticisms is that it's what it looks like, that there's diversity of bodies, that you've got a certain number of one from a certain race, another race, another race. Has nothing to do with diversity of ideology, has nothing to do with diversity of background. It has to do with quotas.
Right.
True?
No, I have never worked in an organization where we've had quotas.
So maybe not how you say it through policy, like corporate policies, but I've seen the organizations that I work for in corporate America where they have an idea, hey, we're looking for representative proportion. We want our workforce to be proportionate to the customers that we're serving, right? So their goal is 13% of the population, 30% of the workforce have to be a certain ethnic race. That could be considered a quota. It may not be like a hard and fast policy position, but it's an ideal that the corporation in of itself is striving for, right? And what if, like, based on their candidates, you find out a lot of your candidates are white, Asian, highly qualified people, but someone who's he's qualified, but he's not as qualified as the white and Asian applicant, who will you pick for the position? There's a pressure, not a pressure, but there's an incentive for you to go for the black applicant, even if they just barely qualified compared to the rest of the applicants. They're not as competitive as the other applicants. This is the incentive that a lot of people are targeting against DEI. This is why a lot of affirmative action hires don't last as long. If I hired someone based on merit versus someone I hired based on DEI, who's more likely to be a lower performer? The one on DEI. Because you weigh other factors more than what his actual function of the job would be. But I digress. On this last clip, this is my final clip for the video, I want to show you the response of this black pastor. Oh my God. These black dudes were, like making points that I was making. Let's take a look.
A few things. If DEI works anywhere, it has to work everywhere. Let me tell you where DEI does not work. The NBA and the NFL. Where are the Asian, Latino, and Hispanic basketball and football players? Where are the black guys in the National Hockey League? Those businesses are performance-based. It really comes down to, Dr. Phil, the issue of justice. And if you really want to go deep to the heart of this, and when I say that DEI treats the symptom but not the sickness, America is in a new civil war right now. The first civil war was the North versus the South. The new civil war is a war of ideologies.
I'm sorry, I couldn't contain myself. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I do believe it's a war on ideology. Is the idea that, hey, do you see color or you don't see color? Because DEI is on the I see color camp, right? Because I can have a diverse a pool of candidates, right, from different backgrounds, poor, from Europe, not from Europe, but all the DEI people see is, oh, I see a bunch of white people here. I said, what are you talking about? My campus is diverse. Look, this white person's from Italy. This one's from Sweden. This one's from Norway. This one's from Ireland. But all you saw was white people. But they all come from different cultures, different belief systems, different. Like, it's baffling how diversity, they don't care about that. That's what I'm talking about. Diversity is racism under new management.
Concerning justice. And it's really going to come down to who gets to define what justice is, whether that's biblical justice or social justice. When moral law stands alone and DEI initiatives are based upon that, somebody gets to pretend that they are God.
I want to bring another important voice to this conversation. Eric Smith, he's an associate professor of rhetoric at York College of Pennsylvania and a public policy research scholar. He's joining us virtually. Eric says DEI should be called EMC, Equality, Merit, and Colorblindness. Eric, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I just need to say that the...
I like that. Equity, merit, and colorblindness, right? And that's something he got from Christopher Rufo. He'll admit here in this video. But I just want to add on to that point is that if they did it, if DEI was not based on race, but based on like class, let's say, hey, DEI is only for poor people. We want to get people from poor locations more opportunities for jobs and give them more, highlighting them, right? you'll find that it'll majority benefit what? White people, because white people they make up the large percentages of poor people. DEI doesn't want that. This is why I say DEI is racism under new management, because if your whole point with DEI is giving people from low income areas more opportunities at financial literacy, financial freedom, and financial, I guess, better financial economic position, you'll solve the problem by helping white people out, because rural whites are most affected by poverty compared to blacks. Now, people will still want to focus and highlight how, oh no, blacks are overly poor. Only 23% of blacks use welfare compared to 66% of whites. When you want to make the point about how black people are over reliant on on welfare, but in the same breath, when they want to try to debunk this narrative and try to claim you're racist, they say, oh look, majority of white people are on welfare compared to blacks. But then when you make the point, okay, poverty disproportionately affects black or white people, then they'll come up with this argument, no, poverty disproportionately affects black people. Look at the percentage of blacks on welfare compared to the percentage of whites. Like they try to have it both ways, because end of the day, in DEI's lens, in critical race theory's lens, black people and minorities must always be the victim, must always be the oppressed class, must always be the ones that need help, not the majority white class, right? Because, oh, they're a majority. Oh, they have power. The system benefits them. But Asians are making money hand over fist compared to every other race. But it's a system of white supremacy. DEI is built on a lie. I digress.
EMC that you mentioned was actually created by Christopher Rufo. He started that going on. And those principles are things that I like, but I would call DEI, contemporary DEI anyway, critical social justice.
You say that we're told demanding merit hurts minorities. Why is that being
what
taught?
A racist idea.
Well, it's being preached because people think that minorities don't have the same opportunities to acquire the same education as white people. Also, in oversimplification, what we should do then is not get rid of merit. We should help those students acquire those resources.
Exactly.
Now, you got criticized for saying that you thought black students should be taught standard English.
And I did a video on that, right? And I don't want to go into it end of the day, but I want to focus on that standard English point. If you know English, let's say you live in a country where it's majority English speaking country, high income skills, job positions that will give you enough income where you can live on your own, have a stay-at-home wife, do well for yourself financially. These are in predominantly English speaking roles. So if I taught you, like, look, if you're saying, oh, you trying to teach me to speak like white people, you a whitewashed black man, Kenny. Well, I know how to speak standard English. I can communicate across any group of people in this country because I speak its language. That means it opens me up to having a high income skill. But if you only know how to speak Spanish, right? Because I come from Miami, right? You're only stuck in Little Havana and Hialeah Gardens. That's the only place you can work. And these places are limited with high income skills. That means you're essentially chained to the location where these people speak that language. While if you're in a country called the United States, if you know how to speak standardized English, you'll be able to move anywhere. Essentially, not being able to speak proper English hurts your economic mobility. But then these white liberal women will pretend that it's because of their skin color that they're able to move into higher income jobs. No, it's because you actually know how to speak English. You know how to actually communicate to a large swath of people in your country. And we're teaching black people that it's racist to demand them to speak standardized English. Make it make sense. This is the idiocy of CRT. This is why I say CRT is trash. This is why I say CRT is garbage. Because you're essentially keeping black people down by only letting them learn skills or things that they're comfortable with, even though that skill is ineffective. No one's going to be talking Ebonics and be making six figures unless they're a rapper. And that pool is limited. The outcomes are limited for a lot of black people. But instead of saying, hey, look, here's a better way of doing it, you go, no, if I teach them the better way because it's white people, it's whiteness, you demonize. This is the racism I'm talking about. CRT demonizes behaviors that will be productive and beneficial to black people as white. You racialize it. And therefore, because the black people don't want to do it, even though that skill gives them higher income, higher economic mobility, it's a way to justify, oh, look, it's discrimination. Oh, look, the system is against them. How? One person decided to learn a skill, got paid for it. You decide not to learn a skill because you racialized it. Who's the real racist there? Me or you? Expecting black people to show up on time, which is respecting other people's time, respecting people's, being courteous to other people, that's considered white culture. Make it make sense. This is how you demonize behaviors that will actually make black people uplift themselves. Because the white liberal want the black community dependent on them. That's the secret of DEI. But I digress. I think I went on a long rant right there. But I think I want to give you guys longer formatted videos because I'm making so few content that at least you guys got something to sink your teeth into. Let me know your thoughts about DEI. Do you agree with me? DEI is racism under new management. You think I made valid points there? You agree, disagree? I'd like to hear your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.